present the bill. But then, as I mentioned earlier, each of you are going to be on the 2-minute clock because of the length of testimony today. Senator Henson on Senate Bill 722.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, distinguished members of the EEE Committee. I am, for the record, Senator Shanika Henson, representative of District 30, here today to present to you Senate Bill 722, Department of Environment, Ecological Restoration. This bill is a continuation of work that's been done in our state over many years. During the 2022 legislative session, Maryland passed a bill requiring the Maryland Department of Environment to do a wetlands and waterways protection program to conduct a comprehensive study, analysis, and evaluation of ecological restoration permitting in Maryland. Following that, in 2024, Governor Moore signed into law the Whole Watershed Act, making several legislative changes to MDE's permitting process relating to stream and floodplain restoration projects, directly addressing several permitting shortcomings identified through that study. What we have identified through further study and analysis is that we need to clarify in our state code the definition of ecological restoration. This bill would make that clarification so that the work being done pursuant to the various acts passed by this body would have the efficacy that we hope that they would have. So I believe this is a simple bill, but you've heard that many times before. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will defer to my panel.
Okay, do you have any sequence or order you prefer, or we'll just go down the table? Okay, so why don't you put the mic close to, because we're streaming this out. So, sir, tell us who you are, and again, you'll be on the 2-minute clock.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jim Brown. I am with Audubon Mid-Atlantic. Protecting Maryland's Chesapeake and coastal tidal marshes is a top priority for Audubon. Through a program called Marshes for Tomorrow, we aim to restore 29,000 acres of threatened salt marsh with state, federal, and local partners through ecological restoration practices. Saving marshes protects disappearing bird habitat and supports local economies. We support this bill because there is an inconsistent understanding of ecological restoration, as the Senator just mentioned. Ecological restoration is part of MDE's and DNR's climate implementation plans. MDE calls for natural climate solutions through reforestation of wetlands to promote carbon sequestration and water quality goals. DNR does the same. Maryland's Climate Adaptation and Resilience Framework also identifies nature-based design as resiliency through restoration. Defining ecological restoration will strengthen and elevate these already identified state planning goals. Ecological restoration is important to Maryland, be it to rebuild islands near Ocean City, protect communities from flooding in South Baltimore or Crisfield, or to increase forest cover on Western Maryland's mountaintops. Restoring our marshes provides habitat to threatened birds, sustains our fisheries, and provides a protective buffer to our $1 billion agriculture industry. The marshes that Audubon restores also celebrate our identity as Marylanders, protecting the very places that Harriet Tubman used to escape to freedom, all while providing us today with valuable habitat, ecosystem services, and climate resiliency tools. Defining ecological restoration will allow Maryland to use it as a tool to save our special places, and it will keep Maryland a leader in habitat protection and conservation planning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sir?
Good morning. For the record, my name is Taylor Swanson. I'm the Executive Director and Assateague Coastkeeper for the group Assateague Coastal Trust. Chair Feldman and honorable members of this committee, I come to you today with strong support for Senate Bill 722 for ecological restoration. As a representative for a voice of people on the Lower Eastern Shore, both visitors and community members of the Lower Eastern Shore, including the counties of Wicomico, Worcester, and Somerset, I come to you to put forward a motion that we should accept this vital step towards addressing the urgent threats to Maryland's landscapes and habitats, and I urge you to consider this bill's swift passage. Ecological restoration efforts are crucial to the long-term health and resiliency of Maryland's coastal ecosystems. Make no mistake, our coastal ecosystems and our landscapes are under threat. Climate change, rapid sea level rise, and habitat degradation threaten not only these important habitats, but also the iconic wildlife they support. Additionally, these threats weaken the crucial services that these habitats provide. In particular, the loss of coastal marsh habitat threatens Maryland's ability to mitigate the harmful effects of storm surge, resulting in catastrophic erosion, which is harming aquatic resources. Without an official definition for ecological restoration, there is room for confusion and miscommunication, impeding effective decision-making and project permitting processes. This bill is a necessary and timely piece of legislation that will allow Maryland to better manage its environmental restoration efforts. A clear definition of ecological restoration will provide consistency across agencies, making it easier to streamline funding and implement these crucial restoration practices. I strongly urge you to consider, on behalf of the Lower Eastern Shore and our coastal bays, a favorable report on this piece of legislation.
Okay, thank you. Let's just go down to the end of the table towards.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson Feldman, Vice Chair Kagan, and the esteemed members of the committee. I'm honored to speak today in support of Senate Bill 722, which will provide a clear and consistent definition of ecological restoration in Maryland law. As the Baltimore Program Director for the Nature Conservancy and as an Assistant Professor of Practice at the University of Virginia School of Architecture, I have the privilege of working with communities and partners across Maryland and the Chesapeake Bay, from the coastal bays and marshes of the Eastern Shore to the forests of Western Maryland, the urban landscapes of Baltimore and the Appalachian Highlands. Senate Bill 722 ensures that ecological restoration efforts across all these regions are guided by a shared understanding, allowing for greater coordination, investment, and impact. Inasmuch as ecological restoration is not a one-size-fits-all approach, and the challenges and opportunities differ across Maryland's diverse ecoregions, a shared statutory definition will add clarity and consistency to TNC's collaborative work across the state, including on the Eastern Shore and the Atlantic coastal bays, where we work alongside partners such as Audubon Mid-Atlantic, the Department of Natural Resources, and the National Park Service to use natural infrastructure to enhance tidal habitat restoration, community resilience, while investing in local economies and agriculture. Along the Western Shore and in urban centers like Baltimore, where we're partnering with the South Baltimore Gateway Partnership, the Maryland Port Administration, and community groups like the Turner Station Conservation Teams to implement innovative urban restoration and reforestation projects that improve air quality and biodiversity in historically underserved communities. And the Appalachian region, where I work with the Maryland Forest Service and local conservation groups, focuses on protecting, reforesting, and restoring critical habitat corridors and headwater streams that benefit both rural communities and downstream populations. By defining ecological restoration in Maryland law, Senate Bill 722 will ensure that the citizens, practitioners, and regulators across Maryland have a shared and accessible definition of ecological restoration, providing an operational framework to guide and enhance collaborative investments in the state. As such, I urge the committee to support Senate Bill 722, a no-cost, high-impact action that affirms and extends Maryland's long history of environmental leadership. Thank you.
Okay, before we go to the next witness, we didn't catch your name on the front end. You forgot to mention.
Isaac Hametz.
Okay, Isaac, thank you. Okay, pass that down to the end.
Good afternoon, Chair Feldman, Vice Chair Kagan, members of the committee. My name is Carol Bean with the Eastern Shore Land Conservancy. I, too, am here to express our support for Senate Bill 722. As previously explained, that bill is providing a needed definition for the term ecological restoration, which will help ensure consistency and clarity across regulations and can help to accelerate the permitting and implementation of these important restoration projects. Eastern Shore Land Conservancy is the largest private land trust in Maryland. We currently have permanently protected over 67,000 acres in the 6 counties where we work. But in the context of ecological restoration, that breaks down to 177 miles of shoreline, 2,600 acres of agricultural land, 8,600 of wetlands, 19,000 in bird habitat. So conservation and restoration projects to us play a really critical role in protecting and revitalizing land and natural resources, but they also provide some important economic benefits as well. So we've just released a report that we commissioned sort of quantifying the economic contributions of the natural resource economy on the Eastern Shore, which showed for the Eastern Shore was about $8.1 billion on economic activity, $700 million in tax revenue, 74,000 jobs. So the shore that sort of sustains us is literally kind of keeping us in business as well. So in our opinion, advancing conservation is not only a commitment to ecosystem resiliency, but also a strategic economic choice as well. And we urge the favorable report on SB 722.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Senator Henson or any of her panelists? Okay, seeing none, thank you. We do have 2 additional witnesses signed up. I see Rory Murray here. Come on up, Rory, and Kevin Smith. Is Mr. Smith here? Kevin Smith?
Mr. Smith is not here.
Okay. Okay, so Rory, You are the final witness on the bill, so you've got the 2 minutes, and you're signed up straight favorable.
Yes, Rory Murray here on behalf of the Maryland chapter of the American Council of Engineering Companies, Chesapeake Watershed Restoration Professionals, and Underwood & Associates, a nature-based ecological restoration firm based in Anne Arundel County. We were happy to be a part of the House Bill 869 work group that came up with this definition, and for all the reasons previously stated, me too.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Murray? Yes, Senator Washington.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And I would have said thank the senator for the bill. Consistent definitions across departments are important. You know, as a practicing engineer in this space, the department is recommending not drafting or updating regulations with regard to this. Could you explain to the committee, or what the bill clearly asks for updated, so how does having updated regulations, should we pass this, impact the work that you all do?
Sure. In my short conversations with the department about this bill, they would like it to be narrow, updated definitions more narrowly tailored to what would exactly be impacted by this bill. I think having updated definitions goes to the heart of the bill. The predicate issue when creating an ecological restoration project is, what is it? So having that standardized definition across all rules and regs would be helpful for everybody involved.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
Senator Augustine, because I noticed it's a Henson and Augustine bill, so you have, okay. Okay, any additional questions? Seeing none, that concludes the bill hearing on Senate Bill 722.